In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those who watch out for humanity, protect us here upon the sacred timeline. But are they the TVA? Or is it Loki? All the Lokis. It doesn't matter. Enough said. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz. Welcome once again, once a here, once a there, once a here, once a somewhere to our show where we will be discussing Loki, Season 1, Episode 3, Lamentis. Loki finds out the variant's plan, but he has his own that will forever alter both their destinies. Our director tonight is Kate Herron, Bish K. Ali, and Michael Waldron. Jack Kirby gets our created by Loki, which is that's the whole thing. Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, and Larry Lieber all get our created bys for Loki. Michael Waldron gets the created by for this episode. Bisha K. Ali gets our written by for this episode. Oh man. So this was interesting to say the least.
That's one way of putting it.
I'm sorry?
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you might imagine, it is a so essentially this picks up. We don't even get to Lamentis for a little bit here. This picks up just after Loki and Sylvie enter into the door, the little door technology by which you enter into other points in time and space. And here they go into, they're actually back at the TVA. And in the TVA, essentially, Sylvie starts, being a Loki, beating people up, taking names. Loki shows up, gets his swords out of the locker because he realizes he doesn't have his daggers. And it's interesting because during this whole time, obviously, all the TVA agents have been sent out. So they do have only a limited guard because everyone has to go deal with all these branching timelines. And I think that is one of the important parts of this plan, was just the idea of setting the charges to evacuate so that when Sylvie does her attack, when she figures out where she's going, there's going to be minimum resistance. But of course there is resistance. And for anyone who wants to say, oh, these what do you call them? These time variant authorities are no good at melee fighting. There's actually, first off, it's four guys to one person, and they're fighting an ancient Asgardian god who has, been, as far as we know, training for thousands of years. Because of course time passes differently in the TVA. And so it stands to reason.
But is that to say that they've never encountered anything as powerful as a Loki, and the Time Variance Authority didn't have time enough to prepare for such a threat, even though they've been chasing a version of Loki around dimensions? And the fact that it does end up being Lady Loki makes me think that I wanted to believe that Mobius was good at his job. And now that I don't think he's as good as his job, I kind of don't understand what's happening. I don't know where my footing is. I don't know what's what. The fact that it was Lady Loki, and that in the beginning, Mobius is chasing Loki around. He's probably encountered that he didn't know it was a lady version of the Loki. In one of the earlier episodes, he keeps calling the bandit, the variant, he. And it's just okay, he has no idea what's going on. And clearly by the end of this episode, we realize that he quite literally really has no idea what's going on.
Well, but this is the thing, is that obviously the Time Variance Authority, because we do get the reveal in this, that, and actually that's the interesting thing, and I actually glossed over this. When we open up, it's actually with, what is it, C20, I believe her name is her designation, at a tiki bar.
Right, okay.
Because it's Sylvie and the person, and they're at the bar, and they're just talking and doing girl talk, and she's interrogating her because she's trying to get her to reveal her secrets. We later find out that that is how she enchants someone, is she wraps them in their own lost memory. And, that's how she takes control. And that is,
should have been a dead giveaway right away.
Well, but obviously they don't know their variant. The variants don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It should have been a dead giveaway to us, as the audience, that these aren't beings that were created by and for the TVA, right? That these are people that were snatched away from their other lives and brought here. If she didn't actually have another life somewhere, that memory would have meant nothing. And it would have been like in Westworld when a robot sees something that they're not supposed to see. They say, it looks like nothing to me. I don't understand it at all. But the fact that she didn't, that it seemed very natural to her to be in that environment, points to the fact that somewhere in her past, that was a normal thing for her. And if that's the case, then she's not a time variance authority created.
You're not think anything's wrong. You're not going to think anything's wrong. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be a little late here because of the storm.
Yeah, you cut out for a second. Yeah, the fact that she has that memory points to the fact that they aren't created by the timekeepers, that they are, they had real lives before.
Can you not hear me? Because I can't hear you either.
Yeah, I just started hearing.
Okay.
I can start hearing you now, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I know. Are you getting the storm right now?
No.
No? Oh, we're not getting the storm either. I don't know what's going on. There's a big storm in the area.
Huh.
They're saying it's really severe, but it's not around any of us, so I don't know.
All right, that's good. No, I mean, you cut out for a second, and then, but then you were back.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that within the Time Variance Authority, they are, as we've seen, they all had lives before this. But they don't know they had lives before this, which means...
Right. What was it? We didn't know this until Sylvie tells us that at the end. But right at the beginning of the episode, they give us a clue as to that. And, we didn't catch it until the end. We're like, oh.
Yeah.
They tell us that right in the beginning.
But this is the thing. The people may be being wiped. Mm-hmm. They may be having their memories re-uploaded. And that's why they say time passes differently in the TVA. Because maybe time doesn't pass as differently as they say, but they don't realize that time is passing differently because they just know that they have these gaps in their memory, and they just assume, oh, well, I guess time's passing differently for me. And you imagine that, within that concept, a guy like Mobius really is, what's the word I want to use for this? He is
a hapless pawn?
Well, not a hapless pawn. Maybe a hap-full pawn. His pawn is hap-full, and he is aware of a lot of things, but he's also intentionally being blinded to things. And there was actually arguably a hint in this before when Mobius is in the office with Renslayer, and he puts his drink on the table, and the Renslayer says, put a coaster under it. Says, there's already rings on the table. And she says, yes, and they're all from you. And he kind of has that look like, when did I put a ring on the table? Because from his perspective, all those events were wiped or were, pruned, if you will, from his mind, from his memory.
Or there are different versions of him, different variants of him that she's working with. And she has him deployed, different versions of him deployed in different areas. And they're all him, and they all come and have the same patterns and leave the little rings on there. And, technically it is you.
There's lots of possibilities with this. And that's what makes it so interesting. But this is kind of a bottle episode. A lot of people call it a Doctor Who episode because it basically takes place in a quarry, which is, and actually that's the plot line, is that Lamentis is like a planet that's just being mined because it was uninhabited, and this species has come here just to mine it, and then
why are all these hoity-toity people there? What the hell are they doing there? Do they live there? And how kind of hoity-toity are you that you live on a planet called Lamentis? Like, you have money. That's the best place you could think of to go, was some place called Lamentis?
They have money because they're observing their mining stocks.
All right.
I mean, that's essentially the way. So they have the claim on the mine for the various mineral rights. It's like, you go to Deadwood and you stake your claim, and suddenly you get your Comstock load.
I guess it's kind of like in the Dune books, like House Atreides has control of the planet Arrakis because they create the spice. So it's like not a great place to live. It's all desert and whatnot, and it's rough, but that's where all the power comes from. That's where all the money comes from.
Well, yeah, exactly. And if you're not there, and to be fair, there's probably a lot of people that are tangentially rich. So they're of the elite class. They may not be quote unquote rich, but they're the person who handles the money for the rich person. They're the they're the artists that do the work for they're the craftsmen, they're the technocrats. So that, the mining engineer is on the train. The mine worker, probably not, The mine that creates gets on the train. The hands that build, there's lots of hands. We can get more. Because the planet's not going to be worth much after today anyway.
Right.
That's the sad part. But,
and the other thing is, how quickly is this moon aggressing upon the planet? Because did they not have any time to say, oh, man, that thing's bigger than it was yesterday? And how many of those days did they spend thinking, no, it's all right?
Well, this is where bureaucracy comes into play. And why all these rich people run Lamentis anyway? It's like, well, we don't want to leave. What? But I have a thing I'm doing. Can't we just push? When's the that's going to cost money. It's going to cost a lot of money to get the Ark ready in time to leave.
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to stock it with the best caviar? Are you sure? How long is that? And it's kind of, you get the feeling that like they were the authors of their own destruction.
Yeah.
They said, well, if we, the scientists say it'll be here in 24 hours, which means we've got 24 hours to take care of what we need to take care of. And, and actually it's probably like been a month, we've got to, so we'll just leave on the 30th and it'll all crash down on, just after we leave. And won't that be a beautiful send-off? We'll take off and we'll get the big explosion.
Yeah.
Sip our champagne and go, yay!
Oh, I could so see that too.
Yeah, and that's why they all get to die, so.
Yeah.
See? There is a living tribunal, and they do bring justice and order to the universe.
That's funny.
Spin the wheel of karma. See what happens. Anyway, so yeah. But of course, I like the scene. One of my favorite scenes in this is when they come across the old lady waiting to die, which is her plasma cannon. Oh,
that was great.
Yes, because obviously,
I gotta say, for being a Loki, she's not very bright or has very much tact. She's prone to emotional outbursts. She doesn't seem to be very much in control of herself. She doesn't seem, or at least we don't know what her broader plans are, but she does not seem like a Loki at all. There's very little Loki about her. And even this idea that I am Sylvie now. I am not a Loki. I am different. I don't know. It doesn't seem very Loki to me. Yeah.
No, I know. I'm talking to my wife.
So yeah,
she's killing my mood lighting. Anyway, turned off the kitchen light. I didn't want the shadows falling on my side. Anyway.
So yeah, she doesn't seem like a variant of Loki to me.
Well, I think what it is she's a different. First off, she literally isn't a Loki, and she's a Loki who's lived a very different life. They even have this conversation when they're on the train where she has just a fleeting memory of her mother.
Yeah, but that's
she knew she was
kind
adopted.
Of cold reading things that psychics do to tell you that they know something about you. That's the level of commonality that they had.
Well, exactly. But that is the point. They have a very limited commonality because Loki had a full life in Asgard. She, as she says, has been running from the TVA her whole life. So her entire way of approaching this situation is by its nature very different. But she is a planner and a schemer, and she has her plan. She just was not expecting another Loki to come in.
But someone that's like strong-headed and foolhardy and like short-sighted, I can't imagine her plans ever, amounted to much of anything. The fact that she even got this far seems unbelievable to me.
Well, I mean, what the honest answer is it only got thwarted because they brought in another Loki.
No. Yeah. But every evidence of her behavior that we're seeing does not seem to point to someone that could make the kind of things that the story is telling us that she accomplished. The character is at odds. No. She did, according to the story. But what they're asking her to believe that she did, it doesn't seem to match up with the kind of personality they're painting her to be. It seems.
I mean, I guess so. Except, I mean, first off, she's the one who knows to lay low on the train when Loki doesn't.
Yeah.
She's, yes, when they approach the lady with the plasma cannon, Sylvie oversteps her bounds and, probably with a lot of Asgardian hubris. And, but then again, Loki's guile gets him the same plasma cannon in the face. So, obviously, she's very mad at Loki because she had a plan. She was executing her plan. And Loki, god of mischief, god of chaos, screwed up her plan. And I think this is sort of where Mobius was smart, because he knew, as he says, we spend so much time chasing these Lokis. Meaning that Lokis are an ongoing and constant problem for the TVA. And he was the first guy to say, probably because he had seen the life of a Loki, followed it through, and realized, you know what? I bet you if we can really reach a Loki, we can get them on our side. And for what it's worth, taking a Loki from this point in time, when he is still burdened with glorious purpose, when the idea of people shouldn't have to think for themselves, they should follow what my plan is for them. That's a perfect storm of a Loki where you could get them to work with the TVA. Because the TVA, what's the TVA about? People don't make choices. They follow the sacred timeline. And you can be a part of the sacred timeline. And even while he's there, he may be scamming and planning his next step. But even Loki clearly doesn't plan that far ahead. Loki is always improvising.
Right, he just wants a good time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest difference between Sylvie and Loki. Is Sylvie
doesn't know how to have a good time.
Well, she's never been allowed to have a good time.
By something that big that she is not able to think about having a good time.
I mean, well, that's the thing. If she's been chased her whole life, and if we imagine that she has been since a small child, because presumably the variance was, Loki's ain't a girl. Ain't no girl Loki's up in here. And that was her variance from the sacred timeline. Then she's been there pretty much forever. And
but even under those circumstances, wouldn't a Loki be a mischievous son of a gun? There's no mischief in her.
No. Well, I mean, if they had been allowed to grow and be mischievous, and maybe she is quite frankly, she is pretty mischievous. She plays the music. She jumps into people's minds. She turns them against themselves. She does a lot of
but she never seems to be having a good time doing it. She never enjoys herself.
Oh, well, and again, I can't speak to her.
Right, no, but you never get the sense that she's always worried, she's always this, she's always that.
Because people are trying to prune her from the timeline.
Right. But even even when Loki is like, Thanos is holding his face in his hand about to crush it, he's got to make some joke. He's still like, like above it all a little bit. Like, that level of thing never goes away. And there's none of that in her. I'm beginning to think
that's a Loki who's... I'm beginning to think
that by the end, that we're going to find out this really wasn't another Loki, that thought it was all a sham. That's how vastly different I feel like this Loki is.
It's entirely a possibility.
No, I doubt it. I just think it's
well, and to be fair, arguably,
Huh?
to be fair, she's not a Loki. To be fair, she's not a Loki. She is a Sylvie. She is someone else.
Why even call it a Loki then if you're just going to make it a Sylvie?
Well, because she didn't call herself a Loki.
Right, so why are they calling her a Loki? Right, them saying, Because, well, and again, it's because she comes from the seed of the Loki timeline. But she was never a Loki. So it's the idea that it's basically the idea. If I was born a woman, I would have a very different life than what my life is. Because there's going to be a lot of different choices I make. The choices I did make would have very different consequences for me, if I was a lady rather than if I was a dude, and that's just reality. Even for the Norse gods, if you are a dude and you do something, and let's face it, the Norse gods have a very enlightened culture. They have you can be a lady warrior, you can do this, but at the same time, they're still an ancient culture. And more to the point, I'm just saying, give me something beyond the horns. To make like a little bit of a mirror, do something, make an effort. It's just like, we'll slap a costume on them and people will just be like, they're the same.
I guess, and I guess what you're supposed to take from it is they're both scheming and burdened with glorious purpose. And if there is a deeper connection, maybe that'll evolve in time. Right now, all we're seeing is them fighting. It's like, for example, here's what I will say. When in the previous episode, when Sylvie is taking over Randy and everyone else, they're very Loki-like.
Right. That's my point. But what?
Because that's when she's putting on the Loki. Because the Loki is an act as well.
Either that or I'm beginning to think that maybe she's not a good actress. That's
I just think that
my guess. I don't know yet. I'll have to see more to see, but maybe that's it. Because when the other guys are trying to say, hey, they're very Loki-ish. There's nothing Loki-ness about her.
It's because in that moment when she's talking to him, she's putting on the Loki act to delay. She is talking and delaying because she has a plan that she is letting time out.
It's one way of looking at it. The other would be that they were actually
her and him in the room together.
No, but her as this actress or her as one of the other actors?
No, her as herself. And again, it doesn't matter who the actress is. This is what they wrote. What they wrote is her and him butting heads.
Right.
And to be fair, there's no point in trying to use guile against a Loki.
No. But and
in fact, I think she even calls him out on that. It's like, don't even try to lie to me because I can see through your lies just as easily as you can see through my lies.
Because we're so similar.
Well, exactly. And yeah, you're not going to get you're not going to get, they only have so much time to tell this story. And Mozz, we're already at episode 4. There's only 2 left. We got to get through this.
Yeah. I wish we'd get somewhere. Well,
we get places. This one, it's a bottle episode. So, this is where we get backstory on Sylvie. And that's the point. We get to find out who she is as she talks to Loki. We get to see the problems with Loki as a schemer and the problems with Sylvie. Now, of course, that's always the thing. As we're watching Loki, we're always imagining, much like Loki said at the sort of last episode, is he trying to pull a scam here? Is this Loki trying to scam her? Is when he makes a choice, is it meant to get them in trouble? Is he trying to cause things to happen?
You mean when he starts drinking and causing a scene kind of deal?
Yeah, when she goes and takes her nap.
Right.
Which is very, it's but then again, we don't know how many days she's been staying awake, that's always that thing when it comes to sleeping. It's like, how many days have you been awake? And we don't know for her, because if you think that she's been planning this out for years, she may not have slept in years, because if she's
now was the time where like, this is the moment.
Well, they've got a plan. She's trusting it, and she's trusting Loki to not be an idiot, and that was her first mistake. She was hoping that Loki would be cognizant enough of the danger they're both in,
right,
to just use a little subtlety and guile here.
That's what I'm saying. This is what she got. This
well, no, she did. He didn't.
Right, no,
that
but
was kind of the point.
He's just another part of the environment that she has forgotten to take into account, is what I'm saying. That oversight seems glaring and pointing to easily made other oversights.
That Loki forgot to take into account his environment as well.
No. He's an idiot for sure. I'm not comparing the two.
Well, so is she. So there we go.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But no. The point is not, you're the one trying to I'm not trying to compare them. I'm just saying that's an idiot. We're not, comparing the merits of the two. I'm simply saying that it's just surprising to me. I don't expect Loki to accomplish anything. He can't help himself. That's his cross to bear. But if they're trying to, I just find it amazing that this character that, falls asleep on the job here, doesn't know how to talk to people, doesn't know how to manage her emotion, got this far.
Well, yeah, because getting this far was the easy part. Getting this far was literally punching people and stealing stuff and knowing where to hide. So it's a completely different power set of guile.
Right.
So as an example.
Yeah, I'm just finding it hard to believe that person that they were chasing and that couldn't catch was her.
No, because she knows how to hide.
Well,
I mean, that's the thing, is knowing how to hide. That's actually a really, especially if you're fighting a defensive war.
right.
If you're fighting asymmetrical warfare,
I would believe that of somebody who wouldn't take a nap in that situation. I know that's the idea they wanted us to believe that
except that she knows she's on an apocalypse world. So she knows she's invisible right now to the TVA, because literally nothing they do is going to cause any spikes here, because quite frankly, there's literally nothing they can do, because
right.
she knows, even though they are on their way to go to the ship to get off of, and they're actually not even at this point planning on getting off on the ship. They just want to use its power source to open a door. They know the ship's not taking off. They just need to get to the ship before it's destroyed to utilize its power source to recharge the doorway key. That's the thing.
Have they already come to that realization at that point?
Yeah, because they don't realize that the key is broken until Loki gets thrown off the train.
Right, and then they get the idea, what if the ship actually takes off? That comes afterwards, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So at this point, she knows she's invisible.
Right.
She's got Loki there with her, and if she's going to take a moment to trust.
The biggest grab bag of unpredictability you can possibly imagine. Loki.
But, you assume that he'd be dead too.
Why would you?
Because he would be dead too. If he causes problems,
right,
he's dead too. They're in an apocalypse zone.
Right.
Nothing they do.
But he's a god. He doesn't believe in being afraid of things.
He knows he can die. He's seen himself die.
I know, but then look what he does. Look what he does.
Look what he does. I know, and it's ridiculous, but at the same time, it's understandable in because he's ingratiating himself.
Yeah,
he's being, he's relaxing in his way.
Yeah.
But he's not a person who spent his life running and hiding.
Right.
He's a person who spent his life
getting what he wants, being a spoiled brat.
Well, no, he's been a trickster. He is used to misdirection, not obfuscation. That's, again, those are two different talents. Obfuscation is hiding. Misdirection is getting you to look over there. And I was, and I'm waiting for, I was actually a little disappointed to find out that when he makes something disappear, it's actually just, between his butt crack. I was that he could land on it. It's like, what, you don't put that in a pocket dimension? It's like, no, it's actually still physically on my person. If I get smashed,
yeah, that part also seemed awful strange to me. Like, how did, like, yeah, was it really just in his pocket the whole time? Really?
I mean, well, the idea is that it's somewhere. It's in a place so. And here's the idea: magic has a cost. If you're going to make something disappear, it has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Where's it going to go? If you could open up a pocket dimension, he could just go into his pocket dimension, but he can't because he's his own pocket dimension. So, I mean, it was a little shocking to basically have the trick revealed.
Yeah.
But the idea is like that. Like any good magician, it's in a secret pocket. It may be a magical secret pocket, but it's still just a pocket.
Right.
It still exists in this bit of space time.
Things like that are making me go, oh, okay, I should not take very much seriously. It's going to be a goofy show. All right.
Well, to be fair, that's how Thanos knew they had the Tesseract. Because even though it was in Loki's magic pocket, it was still within that space. So the Power Stone told him the Tesseract is here. It's hidden, but it's here.
Or the person who's casting the spell that's keeping it hidden is here.
I mean, depending on how the story goes.
I mean, if we really were motivated to, I'm sure we could find some sort of janky way to say that it holds up on this. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to go with it. I think we're gonna get a lot more of this goofy stuff. Keep going forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a show about magic. Magic's goofy. If magic made sense, they wouldn't call it magic.
Nah, but I think they paid more attention to details in WandaVision than they did here, and it would have been way goofier than this was, but it wasn't.
I don't know. Like I said, I think to me it's just like any other magic. It is all misdirection.
Yeah,
and it's intended to be.
I hope that's what this episode is, because it definitely was a drastic departure from everything they'd done beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's what we're supposed to get from it. And I think there's more excitement to come in the near future. Anyway, is there anything else you want to talk about for this episode?
Let's see. How did this one end? Where did we leave off on this one?
Well, this one ends with a really great fight as they're trying to get to the ship. Because they figure maybe if they get to the ship, they can get on the ship, they can get off the world. And
I like that idea. That idea seemed interesting to me. That was the best idea they had. Yeah. Because,
especially since, yeah.
Well, no, because if they do get the ship to work and they start getting it off, the implications of that will immediately send this to the Red Line, and somebody will have to send somebody, right?
Exactly.
And then they would get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or
that
caught.
Is the idea. Yeah. One or the other, depending on how you slice it.
Right.
But that is the idea, and that is what they could do, and it would be great. But as it turns out, they're too late, and ironically, probably too late, especially because Loki got thrown off the train.
Yes.
If they had just
minded their business,
yeah,
all they had to do.
But then the story won't happen, Mozz.
Yeah, no. But then Loki wouldn't be Loki, and that's what you expect of him.
That is a fair argument, without a doubt.
And I think it also speaks to like this arrogance of being a god, right? Like he really buys into that, right? That means something to him. That's not just something he says. He conducts himself in that regal manner, like, of course I should get everything I want. I'm a god. And he's incredulous when he doesn't get it. And like, for somebody that's what you expect someone like that to behave, right? So that shows like
Rick and Morty, Mozz?
Yes, I do. All right, I saw the first two seasons. I haven't seen the last two.
Oh, so you didn't see last Sunday's episode?
No, I haven't.
It's a particularly timely episode.
Oh.
Especially in the sense that it, in its own way, deals with variance and the idea of, Rick thinking he is a god. And that maybe he too is just a variance. So it really ties beautifully into it, especially in the idea of Loki struggling with that idea of he really wants to be a god. And he is a god. People call him a god, but what does it mean to even be a god? And
it's all like what he said somewhere in the first episode was very interesting when he's asking him, do you enjoy hurting people? He goes, no, it's all an illusion, right? It's all a facade. So that makes me think he never really has a plan. And like when he says that, oh, that was my plan all along, he's just saving face. And he's constantly in this thing where he's jumping from lily pad to lily pad of excuses. Right? Oh, yeah, of course I meant to do that. But then, like, part of him, like, yeah, sure, he doesn't care enough about any plan to really see it through. He just wants people to think that he has a plan so that he can mess with them. And then if it doesn't, I just wanted to mess with you. That's really my plan. And that's sort of what I see of it.
I mean, I think, to be fair, and I think Norse mythology backs you up on this, that's pretty much Loki. That's who he is.
Yeah, I don't think he ever has a plan. I don't think he ever plans to. I think he because of that sentiment. Like he's not scheming too far ahead. He's just scheming to mess with people. But I think he really likes Mobius. Like he really wants to help him. He really wants to be his friend. Like he genuinely likes him. Yeah, I think that's adorable.
Loki wants connections, and I think in her own way, Sylvie wants connections. Sylvie just never has had. Except for her fling with Stanley, has never had.
Oh, right. That was cool.
She's maintained a long-distance relationship with the Postman all these years. And in my brain, that's Willie Lumpkin. She's been visiting him at the Fantastic Four headquarters every year. And I just thought
there was a weird throwaway line I didn't catch until I saw a meme on the internet. I was like, oh, my God. That's so great.
Well, and the thing is, and here's the deep dive for it. Okay, he played a FedEx delivery guy in Civil War, not a postman. The postman was in the 90s Fantastic Four, which shows you that that's another multiversal reference, because that's a variant in which the Fantastic Four are the superheroes in that universe. And she's been maintaining this relationship with this variant postman left over from the FF universe.
That's my canon.
It is head canon all the way. And that is no other way to think of it, that she and Willie Lumpkin, played by the great Stan the Man Lee, that is her ongoing long-term relationship. They're can never quite connect, but they're soulmates. They're soulmates. Okay. On that note, Mozz, if anyone has liked these Loki shows, if anyone wants to talk to you about these Loki shows, or anything else, because Loki's are going to end, we got to pick a new show soon. How can they find you, and how can they recommend something or talk to you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
Alrighty then. And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, where mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word. Sorry, superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet, which I haven't recently because I keep on forgetting, or I fall asleep, or something else happens. Legends of Tomorrow, Sunday nights, at Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIE. ESSER. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have listened to another episode where we have plumbed the depths of the sacred and ill-sacred timeline. Join us again next week when we once again say, "Nuff said."